When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die.
Warning, this podcast contains explicit language and spoilers. This is Behind the Iron Throne, your unofficial Game of Thrones cast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Behind the Iron Throne, hashtag BTitBaby. I'm your host, Chris Gray, and tonight I'm joined by a great panel of very enthusiastic Game of Thrones enthusiasts here for you tonight for episode 157, recorded July 19th, 2017. This is the bonus episode. That's right, we're doing a bonus episode. We're going to be talking about Dragonstone and, all different things for Season 7. So let's get right to our awesome panel. Tonight we're going to start with the one, the only. He's bald, and he's a pain in everyone's ass. But we still love him because he is Lord Duckdarian, King of the Seven Quackerjacks. Welcome to the show, John.
Welcome, Chris. How are you, buddy? I love you too, man.
I'm wonderful, my friend. It's hotter than Hades here in Pennsylvania, but I'm getting by. I'm just glad to have you and the rest of our hosts on here. Speaking of amazing hosts, how about the fourth head of the Targaryen dragon? If there were four heads, she would be one of them, and she's bionic. How freaking awesome is that? Our production manager, Trin. Welcome to the show, Trin.
Glad to be here representing House Targaryen today.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Fire and blood. Oh, yeah, brother. Snap it to a Stark Slim Jim. Oh, eat them. They suck. Nothing, John? Okay, moving right along, we have the lovely and talented, the Mistress of Whispers. She's our content manager who doesn't sleep. She is so devoted to you, our awesome community, that she's literally up for over 40 hours watching and rewatching all of the episodes, reading the books, doing all the hard labor here. I'm so happy and proud to have Andrea, Mistress of Whispers, right here, Queen of the North. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, I think it's just because I have nothing better to do with my life. Although I am dedicated to things, guys. Who stays up for 43 hours to watch the episode 14 times? That's me. That's me.
Incredible.
Anyways, I'm happy to be here, guys. We did a lot of work this week. I transcribed some pages. Me and my team, we really looked into this episode, and I'm just really excited to get to it and share some information, some insight, maybe some callbacks, some Easter eggs, foreshadowing, things like that. We definitely got a lot of it this episode, so I am really looking forward to the conversation, and I'm really looking forward to your guys' comments.
You sound tired.
I'm not
You
tired.
sound like you've been up for like 80 hours.
I'm not tired at all.
I think because you're talking very slow.
I've had 12 hours of sleep in 72 hours.
That doesn't seem like good math to me, but I know it's going to get everybody jazzed up because we have right now in the studio, sort of, via the power of the internet, in the Nerd Star. Well, we're in the satellite Nerd Star anyway. He is the one, the only, the man with the Valyrian steel Gatling gun. He flies around in the Millennium Falcon as him and I go looking for ladies. It's party time with the militant Marker Yardley. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? I'm doing outstanding, and I look forward to talking about this episode.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I just want to remind everybody that's watching, if you're not watching live, if you're listening to the podcast, you can join us live each and every single week right on Facebook.com/Behind the Iron Throne. And coming soon, you'll be able to watch on YouTube Live. We have plans in effect to have BehindTheIronThrone.tv live, so you can watch on any of the platforms that you like, and we'll do our very best to monitor all of the different chats. So we're really excited about that. And of course, this podcast is made possible by your generous donations, and of course, all of your support and feedback, whether you're sharing our content. If you make 100 shares, Trin's going to drink and get smashed. And if you want to support us monetarily, use one of the links in our description. Please, if you're in the live, give us your feedback and your comments. We will try to read every one that we can that makes sense within the show content during the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, let's kick it off. First, I just wanted to ask, how many times have you rewatched the show, Yardley? Episode 1 of season 7.
I watched it all the way through twice, and I had it on in the background when I was working out earlier today. But that's it.
Just initially, do you feel differently than you did on Sunday's episode?
Nope, feel about the same. The only
Okay.
difference is there are just a couple other things that I picked up, in the episode of note that we'll probably more than likely discuss tonight.
Okay, cool. I feel like there's some things that are a little bit different than I initially rated it myself. Trent, what about you? Do you think that it's a little bit differently than you rated it on Sunday? Did you find different things that you might have missed the first go-round?
Yes, I watched it about 6 times since Sunday night, since the original. I think 6 would be including the original one. I found a lot more stuff or realized a lot more stuff. And from engaging the community of podcasters, YouTubers, and all that kind of stuff in that time as well, have realized some stuff. I'm sticking with my 3 swords, though, as far as my rating. I still believe that it is what I said it was.
Your
So, yeah.
your 3-sword rating.
You cut me deep.
Is that because you were you wanted more content, more beef right from the get-go?
Mostly because of all the hype that the producers and marketing and all those people said. They built it up to be, like I said on Sunday night, a punch in the face and a battle like Hardhome every single episode. And when it comes down to brass tacks, we have 15 hours left. And so not 1 minute can be wasted, not 1 minute. And I think they wasted a couple of minutes. Too many minutes in this episode.
I agree, unless later on this season, some of the stuff they showed us actually is more important than we initially think. However,
I agree. I think that's going to happen.
I hope so. Otherwise, I feel like, I agree that we're running out of time here, and I want to get to the point. I want some closure on this thing. We do 5 swords, Joetta. We do 1 to 5. John, do you agree with what Trent said? How many swords would you give it? Or did you give it? You gave it 4, right?
I keep it at 4.5 swords.
Oh, that's right. You were
disagree
really
with
high,
Trent.
4.5.
I
Yeah.
keep it 4.5. It's a typical Game of Thrones episode. D&D is not going to go away from their format that they've done for 6 seasons. They're going to stick to it. The first episodes, they're going to tell you what place they're in, where everyone is, what story on. You want the bulk of, I think, of this is going to be 5, 6, 7 is going to be, I think, the bulk. That's when you're going to get a ton of stuff, a ton of action, the longer episodes. So, but I stick at 4.5. D&D will not change their routine. Their success, they're going to keep the format that got them the success they've had for 6
fair
seasons.
enough. Trent, did you want to say something?
I wanted to let everybody finish giving their sort of reviews, and then I want to go to the comments.
Yes, because we got them rolling in.
And rebuttal, John.
Okay, Andrea, how do you feel? I mean, I know you watched it how many times? 12, 14 times?
Yeah, 14. I hold to my 4 swords only because I know that it's going to get better. The thing about it is that there's so much in this episode, so much. For the record, I feel like you could basically predict the rest of the series through this one episode. But with that being said, it was only 57 minutes, and they have a lot of ground to cover, and so it's just going to get better for me. I can't give something 5 swords because to me that would be like lessening the value of the next episodes to come.
Okay. I also want to apologize to everybody watching live. There are some audio and video issues. I'm not in my regular studio. I'm in transition. I'm in my satellite studio, which is basically my mother-in-law's bedroom. So the lighting is bad. I know it's terrible. Bear with us. At the end of August, I'm going to be in my new studio. New baby, and it's going to be phenomenal. Okay, so we all are pretty much where we were before. I agree with a lot of people in the chat. And Trent, could you share the mindset of the chat for us?
Yeah, DJ said, I'm more inclined to go with Yardley after rewatching. I'm bumping down to a 3. Joetta says 3 out of how many swords? Oh, we already answered that. 5. We give out 5. At least JNG says at least 10 with those Lannister soldiers. Eric says episode 1 is a setup episode. I have not problem with it. Christina said I think it was a good for a setup episode, which is true. We have to keep in mind it's a setup episode, and you're right, John. This is my rebuttal really quick before I finish these. They do have a format. They do stick with it, but they changed that format when they changed to 7 or 6 episodes instead of 10, and I'm sticking with that. If they're gonna give us less episodes, they got to give us less fluff. So, go ahead. Anybody want a rebuttal?
I'll rebuttal to that.
Oh, okay.
What more do you want to see in this episode? You want to see a battle right off the bat? I mean, we're getting 2-3 battles already. We're gonna get at least 3 battles this season. You want one more battle? Like, you want a battle to start off with without a build up, without a kind of, we're just gonna go into a battle. Keep in mind they're working with a budget too, right?
The cold start was good though, don't you think?
At the end of the day, they got a budget to retain. So
I don't think we're arguing about that part of it. I think the start of it was pretty good with the wiping out of the phrase. Yes. I think it was other stuff that I felt lacked a little bit.
Yeah, like Andrea said earlier, they're doing some stuff that's setting up. I just on first impression you just don't see that, and so you feel like it's fluff. If we come back in later episodes in this season and we're like, oh well, this is a reference to episode 1, this is a reference to episode 1, I'll be like, cool. You know what, episode 1 was pretty badass. But as of right now, I don't foresee some of the stuff that they were spending our valuable time on.
Yeah,
I have a rebuttal to that really fast. I know that we're getting less episodes, but it's absolutely clear that content-wise, we're getting more per episode than we would get in a season. And I mean, again, that may come from the fact that I read the article with Nikolai Coster-Waldau, but I mean, if you think about it, compared to any other premiere episode of Game of Thrones in any other series, this has been the most informative first episode that we've ever gotten, which makes you realize that the setup moving forward is going to be the same. And I feel like they went back to a lot of book canon, because when I was transcribing those pages that Sam was sifting through, a lot of it was literally right in my books, and I had to go back to my books to make sure I was properly transcribing it. And most of it came out of A Feast for Crows when Sam first got to the Citadel. So I mean, obviously, we haven't gotten to the Hound moving north and things like that. This is uncharted territory, but we're also getting territory that we know has been charted. Obviously, they switch things around a little bit with Sam, but for the most part, the pages that we're seeing come straight from the books, and they're not giving us a bunch of fluff. They're not giving us a bunch of BS. So I think that we're going to get a lot more book content without getting a lot of spoilers towards what we're going to be seeing in the show. But again, that's the difference between reading something and getting inner dialogue versus watching something and getting visual dialogue.
Yes, I agree.
Great points. Great points. And I want to say real quick, a big shout out to our good friend, Kyle Foster from Azora Hype. Please get a chance, check out his YouTube channel. He's been a great friend of the show, and he's been helping us out on our YouTube channel. That's Azora Hype, and that's our friend Kyle Foster. He's a hell of a great guy. We're going to have him on the show very soon, and I believe that some of us are going to be on his show very soon. He does a live YouTube channel show. It's going to be a lot of fun, so we enjoy the collaboration. Yardley, what are you thinking about this? Do you agree? Do you think that there's a lot of Easter eggs that we missed? I mean, Andre, you make great points. I certainly agree with you, and I'm starting to come around to your side. How do you feel, Yardley?
Well, there were definitely things that we missed, because jumping right in after the episode and getting that instant reaction, there are definitely going to be some things that kind of went over your head on the first viewing. So I do think that there's a lot to be gained by having rewatched it. And as far as the formula for how they do things, I definitely agree that with less episodes, they can't have the same format or formula that they had for 10. So I think that we're definitely going to get an expedited, season. And, I've got full faith that these guys are going to be able to pull off what they signed up for. They haven't let me down yet. And as far as I'm concerned, the show is the new canon because the books won't be out until the show is over.
Amen.
That's a great point. We have a lot more comments. Did you want to catch up on the comments, Trin?
Yeah, we've got all of our fans are giving their ratings still.
Awesome.
Lord Bag says 3 swords and a dirk, so 3.5. Joette says Arya was the 4 and the half was for the rest of the episode. Okay.
Yeah.
Samantha says, I like getting the narrative content in this episode. I loved the cold opening. That was, I think, like the 3rd cold opening that we got ever.
Yeah.
Do we have like actual stats on that? Anybody?
What do you mean? Like,
How many cold openings we've had? Yeah. I think that was like the 2nd premiere cold opening that we've ever had.
Well, it was this one, and then wasn't there the one, oh my gosh.
We'll have to go back and look.
Eric was saying
but yeah, no,
6
the cold opening
openings.
is out of their sort of realm of normal. Lisa says, I agree with Samantha G. The ending line of Shall We Begin gave a certain oomph to the ending episode and to the beginning of the season.
What do you mean by cold ending? Sorry to cut you off.
Cold opening. Opening.
If I said it?
Yeah, if I said ending, I meant opening, sorry.
Like, what do you mean by cold openings?
They showed a scene and then did the dun.
Oh, that's
dun, dun,
season
dun.
4. Season 4, they opened with ice getting reforged before the credits.
No, the other cold opening was the Cersei flashback.
Yeah. Does anybody think that it would have probably have worked better if the last scene with Daenerys was actually first in this episode? It seems like if they would have reversed it, it would have been better because she says, now we begin, and then you segue into Arya doing her thing. But it seems like that was kind of, I thought it would have maybe.
I like that.
It could work both ways, but I kind of like the opening of Arya just killing all the praise.
I don't know, John. I think it kind of I think it just set the bar too high for the rest of the episode.
But then you're expecting to see more of Daenerys if she opens the show, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, you're expecting to see more of Daenerys. Like, you saw more of Arya. Like, I see both sides. Both would work, but I think if you did Daenerys first, you're gonna expect more Daenerys scenes where it's better to end with Daenerys.
Yeah,
you don't
maybe you. I'm like, good.
Come on.
Now that we've got her out of the way, let's get to the real stories. But well, let me ask you something, though. I mean, let's be real. I'm just kind of curious, and I know we're going to get to this, but I really did think that it would work better at the beginning only because I didn't think that the performance with all of these things that have built up over all of these seasons with Dany finally getting home, I just didn't feel that emotional oomph to end the episode. I thought it was just kind of, the whole blank stare. It was just kind of weird. So for me, I would rather have started off like that and ended strong. That's just me.
I absolutely agree. I think that they didn't give Dany enough time to really let the fans soak it in with her. And it is kind of hard with her blank expressions. Like she's got certain performances that she does really well, but whatever she was trying to convey to us when she got to Dragonstone, I didn't feel like it really got conveyed well enough. And I think they had put so much in, and I don't know if they ran out of time. I didn't think they ran out of time. But it seemed like she didn't pull it off as much as she should have. And it probably would have been better in the beginning.
Andrea?
I disagree with almost all of that. I mean, sure, having Daenerys sail into Dragonstone as the very first open would have been beautiful, especially with, like you said, Yardley, you're saying, let's begin. It seems like that should be the beginning. However, I think putting Daenerys at Dragonstone in the first episode would have also been like, oh, here they go. They're traveling so fast. It was kind of like, let the anticipation build up for Dragonstone, seeing her come home. And for me, the fact that there was only 3 words in the whole entire scene, 4, shall we begin? It said more to me than almost anything because sometimes less is more. And for me, I felt like Daenerys the no words, just emotion phrase was perfect going into that. You got to see how she reacted to coming home for the first time. I actually saw the gates that they pushed open, and they had this reddish brown color to them. And I'm not saying that this is how it's going to be in the books with the house with the red door, but it almost seemed like they were giving book readers just a little aside. You know what I mean? Saying, we feel you. We know it's important. This may not be how it works out, but here's a house with some red doors. You know what I mean? Even though it's not technically a house, it's a castle. But I also love the fact that wherever Daenerys goes, she has a fucking castle to stay in. Like, who does she think she is?
Yeah, right. She just moves right in.
Taking down that banner with the Baratheon banner, no words again. Walking into the audience chamber and seeing how it's just been empty all this time, and the candelabras are like bent over. I mean, are like spilled over, and there's wax everywhere. And she sees the throne of Aegon the Conqueror for the very first time. Not the throne, but his original seat. You know, it was just really powerful for her. She walks into the stone drum. She puts her hand down on the east side of the painted table and moves her hand from north to south. It was all very, very informative. And, you know, that was an Easter egg, too. It goes to show that she put her hand down north of the wall and trailed it from north of the wall all the way south. And it you know, instead of her going to King's Landing like they did in the House of the Undying Visions, it shows her that she has to go north to go south. I mean, yeah, in order to go north, I mean, in order to go south, you must go north, or something like that. She has to go north first, and she is going north. That's where her journey is going to start. And it's those little subtle details that made that scene so powerful for me. She didn't need to say anything, to be quite honest, and neither did Tyrion. He was completely awestruck with the whole entire thing. It makes you wonder if Tyrion had ever been there before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
go ahead.
It was amazing.
Trin?
I was just going to read all the comments. We have a lot of participation.
Yes, and I got to say,
we did promise to
read them. That's right. Yeah. Our awesome community.
Janji says maybe they should have ended with Arya. Joette says Arya was definitely better as the opening. So the fans, we've got a mixed bag going on down there. Andrea, Samantha, the dragon stuff worked for me. I thought her expression was more of awe than blank. Christina, I love the phrase expression to make it seem like someone else. So I knew it wasn't Frey. I picked up on that too, and we'll talk about that when we actually get into the show part of it. Gotta say that I thought she was beautiful in those scenes. Have they done anything different with her? Lord Bag says the scene with Arya's murder spree should have been at the end. More mixed bag. DJ said, I mean, we waited how long for Dany to leave Marine? Then she did. Then we waited a whole year, and the only thing we got was her arrival. I know, I'm just being impatient and greedy. Samantha says it was definitely more subtle than other parts of the episode, but the wardrobe changes, the hair changes, the music conveying the feeling knocked it out. I like the only dialogue was very appropriate for the scene. Joette says, when I think of this episode, it's Arya, then flashy pirate, tight pants Euron, Jon Snow, then Dany. Peter says, if the Dragonstone part was at the start, we would be disappointed we didn't get more from Dany. And Samantha says the whole aesthetic of Dragonstone scene was powerful for me. It struck a chord. As a person who's hard of hearing, sometimes scenes that have no dialogue can be the biggest impact. And Janji said those silhouettes were thumbs up. Nice.
Who is this we? Because I keep hearing we want more Dany. Nobody has never listened to me on this show knows I can never have less Dany. The less Dany I get, the better, you know.
What house are you?
I'm a House Plum.
Okay. House Plum.
Yep.
Are you
a drop of Targaryen blood?
But what part? Isn't there two like branches of House Plum? Are you the one that fought on the side of the Targaryens, the one who fought on the sides of the Blackfires?
You know that Brown Ben is my uncle, so that's your answer.
Right.
Oh, fair enough.
Brown Ben Plum, but yeah, I'm not. You know what? Dany has warmed up to me, but she needs to do something else. I just didn't get all of the expressions that, you know, maybe if I watch it a few more times. I doubt that anything will change, but I don't know. It's not necessarily words. I just don't think that she's a great physical actress, to be honest with you.
Samantha says, I'm not Samantha, I'm Sam.
Right, she's our Sam.
Yes.
She's our Sam, so just, yeah.
Hey, Sam.
Okay,
Now
so
I see you on my phone.
the dragons, I can't believe we haven't mentioned the dragons yet, means we're talking about Sam. They're huge. They are freaking
747s.
huge.
Oh, they were gorgeous. You can definitely see that Drogon is still bigger than them, but again, there are like different size 747s, and Drogon would probably be the biggest one of them. But I mean, just to see them like circle Dragonstone and the mass of them compared to the keep itself, it was like, holy shit! It's amazing what some open air will do for two little stunted dragons.
How about this? And I know this is kind of getting a little bit silly, but what do you do when one of those dragons drops a big duker? You got to be out of the goddamn way. It's like shitting a bus on you.
Use it as fuel.
Imagine when they're
Shoot
sailing
yourself.
over, right? They're sailing, and then Drogon flies by one of the ships and just drops a turd, and it hits the water. It would be like a cannonball splash. All right, I think way too much about these
Like,
things.
do dragon shit though. I mean,
Yeah, it's incredible. Those things have really gotten bigger. And when and then we got a lot of good overhead shots of Dragonstone. I feel like for the first time we've seen what Dragonstone really looks like. Not, we got.
I felt like that too.
Yeah, right. That felt
too.
really nice to be able to see it from the aerial view, and we got to see more of the inside than ever before.
Absolutely. I thought that throne is better than the Iron Throne.
I agree. I thought it looked really
me
awesome.
too.
Yeah, I definitely like that. For sure.
Well, it's interesting because Aegon the Conqueror preferred Dragonstone over the Red Keep in general. And for me, like looking at Dragonstone in general, it's so authentically them, and it's tied to their history even before, the Doom. It just feels like it fits. You know what I mean? It should have been like that the whole entire time. So. And there are a lot of parallels between Aegon the Conqueror and Dany. There's a lot of parallels between Aegon the Conqueror and Jon. But the fact that, she walked into her ancestral seat, I feel like almost that's the most important thing in this whole entire series is that they're all coming into the places that they actually belong, and seeing her in her own home. It's like, she doesn't have to make it hers. It is hers. You know what I mean?
I agree, Carrie. The Dragonstone speaks to my goth side too. Don't let this ugly ass face fool you. There was a time where I had long jet black hair and spiked.
He was ridiculous.
Spiked rings. I used to wear leather jackets. I was crazy. I was in the Maury Povich show too. Uncontrollable teenagers. I was goth all the
I
way.
have to find that still.
He was like a Euron Greyjoy.
I kind of was. But
Find that
Euron looks a
video,
lot better
so.
than I do.
Like a
So-
Robert Smith cure. Sorta.
Yeah, but I'm a lot uglier. Can I say? And I've gotten uglier over the years. Time has not been good to this face. Okay, so let's go to. Have we beaten the Dany thing to death yet? Yeah,
I think
love
that's all
the
we
cure,
can
Carrie.
do about Dany right now.
And Nine Inch
We kind
Nails
of
is still one of
started
my favorite
backwards.
bands.
We should probably maybe go to the beginning.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
gonna go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Talk about Walder Frey and why. How? Okay, can somebody explain to me how these glamours work? Because Walder Frey is Arya is Walder Frey, but her hands are old and wrinkly. But she's wearing his face. And
Yeah.
it looks like a rubber mask when she rips it off. Is that part of the glamour, or am I just looking too much into this? Because his hands,
They haven't established any real rules on the show
Right?
about it.
not on the
So
show
that-
anyway.
That sucks.
He's banging the cup. Nice picture, by the way, Trin. And you can. That's not a girl's petite, beautiful hand. That's an old man's creepy hand. Oh, look at my creepy hand. I'm Lord Janitor.
I love this scene.
It's a great scene. Don't get me wrong, but
One
I
of my
want to know
all-time
what's going on
favorites
here.
Now it's up there.
Oh gosh, John.
It's up there. My all-time favorite scenes. Come
We
on,
have
this
so
is
many all-time
revenge.
favorite scenes,
It
John.
is. This is
Joetta
my top
agrees.
10.
I'm looking
This might be
too
my
much into
top
it.
10. The fact that she finally got a full. I mean, she just wiped out the entire line. I don't even know who's gonna inherit the twins. It goes back now to the Tullys, but it's fucking awesome. I love it. Just killing all those Freys. I love it.
Well, it was all of the phrase of note. So there are probably still
Oh.
some more phrase out there. And how in the hell do you get a room full of drinkers and manage to get everybody to drink at the same damn time. I know you're going to toast, but people are going to be drinking before the toast.
No, because I think what happened was she did all the things, and then he's like, and then you're not going to drink before the toast, and then he goes toast. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Plot hole, armor, take it whatever you want.
Didn't he wave over the girls who had the jugs of poison
and they
wine?
poured each one.
So
and
they just
like,
put it in?
They waited for the toast. Like, who drinks before a toast at a
I'm
thing?
anytime that I've been anywhere like a wedding, I'm already drinking before the toast happens. It's called libations, bro.
No, but she gave a fresh thing. Like, she brought up the people with that before she made her toast. Like, while she was giving the speech, they were like pouring out the wine and stuff, and then afterwards. So yeah, I could see all of them drinking at the same time.
Good, Andre.
They might have been drinking something else.
Yeah, I think they were, because they brought out, when she was talking, that's when those ladies brought out all the jars of the new wine.
Good, Andre.
As far as the whole entire switching faces and having, all the attributes of the character whose face you're wearing, something that Jock and Agar said to Arya last season was, she asked if she could wear a face to go on her mission with Lady Crane, and he said, a girl isn't ready to be no one, but she is ready to be somebody else. And it didn't make any sense to me at that point. Like, so Arya has to just go and pretend to be other people or whatever. He's saying that she'll never be nobody, but she'll always be able to be somebody else. So she can disguise her identity. She can be a stranger, which was brought up with those with that scene with Ed Sheeran and the Lannister soldiers. And I think the point of the face is that it does make you the person that that face belonged to. For example, in the books, she put on a face of a girl who looked like she had been seriously abused. She had a huge hump on her back, and she was crippled, basically. And she took on that person's identity, and all of those things matter, and they all happened. Same thing with Melisandre. She has a glamour going on. This time she's using a brooch, but with the faceless men, they're using the faces of other people, and the people don't even have to be dead. Another thing that I noticed was the girl who Arya was pretending to be last season. A fan pointed this out to us, was one of the girls serving the wine.
I have a question about that for you, Andrea.
Yeah, no, she was one of the girls serving the wine, and I just feel like if she would have been wearing Walder Frey's face, she still would have been short. She still would. Who isn't gonna wonder why Walder Frey doesn't have those bandages on his hand or look fucking ratchet?
She
You know what I mean?
and has bandages on her hand, but I don't know. I think the glamour might work for like her face and maybe her size, because she changes sizes. She changes her voice. She changes more than just the head piece, because if you remember back in the House of Black and White, all those cutouts were just their faces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, but what about the hairdo and everything else in the back? Because when she pulls it off, like she waves her hair out and she's going to town.
It's all part of the glamour. I mean, I think we all have to assume that. You know what I mean?
I got a question for you, Andrea.
Go for it. Mm-hmm.
With the glamour, I know Yardley, we haven't established any rules or anything, so I'm a little bit confused myself, and we're probably overthinking this, but I think it's a fun question to bring up on the show. When we know that Jaqen can do any face he wants to without it being a face in their collection, because he does Arya's face, right? When Arya was pulling the faces off of Jaqen number 3 or 2 or 1 or whichever fucking one he was, the face looked like silk coming off, like magical silk, right? When Arya does it,
it looks like a mask.
It looks like a mask. So is it like a hybrid? I'm probably overthinking this. Maybe it's a hybrid glamour thing, or I guess the main question is, for Arya in particular, does her face have to be worn by a dead? Does she have to kill them first in order to wear it?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Maybe it was just plot holes with the other girl that was in the room in the serving room at the twins, and that's the reason why she was still alive. But it also could be the fact that Arya isn't actually no one, so she wears faces differently. Even when they pulled the face off of the waif at the end, with she was that old woman, she kind of did like this kind of motion, and it was like silk almost coming off of her face. So it could have something to do with the fact that Arya is still someone, but she's also somebody else too. You know what I mean? She's a stranger. So Yeah, I think that might have something to do with it. Also, what did you guys think about finally finding out the Frey words?
Yeah.
Was that the Frey words
Together
officially?
we stand.
If you think
I
about it,
think
you have
so.
two twins. They're
Yeah,
standing
makes sense.
together.
And they all stood up at that time when he said, "Together we stand," and they were like, "Together we stand."
Or stand together, yeah.
Stand together, whatever they said.
I got a question for Yardley real quick. Then Trin will go to you. Yardley, how dumb are these guys though? Their father, or and maybe in some cases grandfather, or whatever. He's been a dick. I mean, a flat out complete asshole since we first met Lord of the Janitors, and now all of a sudden he's like, "Hey, everybody, we did good. We're gonna have a toast." And until, of course, everyone starts drinking, and then the tune changes, and we find out it's Arya. But not one person ever thought, "Hey, wait a second, why is he being a jackass?" Considering he just slaughtered all the Starks not like a fortnight ago at the Red Wedding, and now this. Do you think that something's fishy?
I think he killed it. Oh, sorry.
Well, there was a question in the chat where someone was asking if the other women, if they were in on it. I don't personally believe that would be the case, but yeah, I mean, it would definitely be weird, Chris, but I could see how this could get pulled off. I think it's more believable that she did what she did there than for her to be able to leave the faceless men and them just not do anything about it.
Okay.
Because those are some serious skills to leave an order with and to cause havoc. You know what I mean? You could kind of give the brand a bad name if people find out that that's the case. So I find it more believable that she could pull that off than to quit that particular job.
Go ahead, Trin.
Can I say
Oh,
something?
you wanted to go? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to read the comments when John's done.
Okay.
I just want to say I can believe it because they just threw a banquet. Like, if this is right after, or they just threw a banquet for the Lannisters, so it's like Walter Frey threw a banquet for Lannisters. So I can buy them buying that he's gonna throw a banquet to celebrate that, the fact that he has the river run and stuff like that.
And it makes sense that he would call them together to discuss what their plans are for winter. And to be quite honest with you, I think that she pulled Walder off actually effortlessly. It wasn't until he said, "You helped me slaughter the Starks at the Red Wedding," and then everyone cheered because they thought, or they knew that was something that Walder Frey was proud about. But then when he goes, "Yes, yes, cheer," like really sarcastically, you knew that something was fucking about to happen, and she was trying to lay it on him. And she did. You butchered a woman pregnant with her babe and cut the throat of a mother of 5, slaughtered your guests after inviting them into your home, but you didn't slaughter every one of the Starks. No, that was your mistake. It was like she just was laying on him, and you could see their faces like, what the fuck is actually going on? It still didn't occur to them that he wasn't Walder Frey. It hadn't occurred to them because they're just like, he's an evil bastard, so he'd say all these hurtful things. But now I'm wondering what the hell is really going on, you know? So it was such an epic scene, like watching her like tell them, basically, you fucked up and I'm gonna kill you. But at the same time, you know, you should have fucking, made sure that you ripped them all out, root and stem. But how the fuck were they supposed to know where Arya was? Cersei didn't even know where she was. Jaqen H'ghar did.
Yeah, this is true. Okay, John.
It's also it's as she was nearing the end of her speech, that's when a lot of them started choking.
It was perfect timing.
She was talking about, you did this, you did that. A few of them started choking on it. So she timed that perfectly for when, as soon as it ended, they all started dying. Like, it was perfectly timed.
Okay, Trin.
I think I lost most of them because I did get a couple. DJ said, I think it's a full body glamour, voice, height, everything. Carrie says, I think it's part of the magic and glamour. I'm sorry if I missed some of you guys's. Lord Bags, she brought in a special wine. That way she could make sure they drank it at the same time, talking about how they were served and all of that kind of stuff. But Christina says, but the Freys were not known to be smart. Joette says there's definitely some magic at work, a god, if you will. And then DJ says Jaqen wanted her to leave all along. Eric says you left one wolf alive and the sheep are not safe. And Ryan says there is only one god and his name is death. And my comment in all of this is the Freys aren't very smart because Andrea, I remember references in the book about the Arbor Gold, and I'm a bit of a wine connoisseur myself.
It was red.
Yes.
Wait a second.
you.
Did
I'm
you just
glad
say
you
you're a
picked that
wine
up.
connoisseur?
I'm a whiny.
Yes.
Wait a
I like
second.
wine.
I
It was
love
red.
wine. So Arbor Gold, it would be like a Chardonnay, like a white wine, but it's a gold color, and they were served red wine. And I wrote in the notes, the Fraser stupid. Like they were like the finest Arbor Gold, and they're getting red wine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fucking you. You guys are idiots.
Trent,
That's all I want to say
you
about
and
that.
I are definitely wine box connoisseur drinkers.
Yes,
I'll
you
drink
are.
them.
Yes.
Every color. I don't care what the container you give it to me in. Yeah. No, I know my wines though.
John,
Anyway,
John,
they're dumb.
John, this was a great scene, and I know, of course, you loved it because anything that has anything good about Starks, and you get an
This is
instant boner.
revenge. This is revenge, man. I've been waiting seasons for this. For first the Starks get their revenge on the Red Wedding. I mean, last season we got Walter Frey died, the Boltons died, and now finally get killing all the at least all the main Freys. I mean, it's so satisfying as a Stark fan, as a Stark to witness this. I love it, and they're on top.
Let's talk
It's
about
like,
another
oh.
Stark here for a second. The cripple Stark, you know, the one that's supposed to be so freaking special, who has to be drug around by Mir on a sled. Good old Bran Stark. For some reason, I do not like him anymore. Anyhow, we had that vision, right? Remember, right before we got to see Bran, we have that vision. And this is one of those scenes I thought was kind of a waste, unless it's foreshadowing for something, and it's going to make sense to me. You had we're looking like out into the woods, and the fog, the snow, and the winter starts building up and getting closer and closer. And then, of course, you see the Night King, and then you see all the dead. I thought the only thing important about this were that we're seeing the army of the dead, and it was to show off that he has giants. I thought that was the takeaway of that, and I think some people even think this is a view of the future. Could that possibly be?
I definitely think that it's a view of the future. A lot of things that I noticed with that scene is it starts off with, what looks like trees in the background with mountains behind them. And then you start seeing like clouds rumble up, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Or like an army coming in, and then you randomly get to see that it's actually the Night King and the army of the dead coming through. What isn't clear is if those mountains behind there are actually the wall, or if they're actually a mountain range. And I'm assuming that it's just like I'm assuming that they're still beyond the wall, because when Dolorous Ed comes out right before he goes back into the Ice Gate, he takes a look out at the haunted forest, and that vision right there. I mean, that viewpoint right there literally looked like the very beginning of Bran's vision.
I want to interject something really quick in here. And I know that we have talked about this over and over on the podcast, and they don't cut away to a scene for no reason. We've said, and you've said this before, they do everything for a reason. So every time they stop and change the scene, like with Dolorous Ed, looking out at the thing, there has to be a reason behind it. Right now, I don't feel like there's a reason behind it. We haven't really seen any reason. So unless he was looking for something, it seemed like dead space to me. But I'm trying to keep a positive mind that it's all for a reason. I just don't see it yet.
So is everybody here pretty much in a agreement that this vision or this scene from the Night's King is the future?
Oh, absolutely.
Probably.
Well,
and I'm hoping that's why Dolorous Ed?
Dolorous Ed.
Yeah. I'm hoping that's what he was looking out, and then it's going to later be this scene.
Or, I mean, well, maybe if it's in the future, what they're walking on is ice from the ocean because they've frozen it, and they're just walking around.
Didn't it look green to you a little bit, though? When it first opens up, you're thinking, okay, this is the grass. And
I looked at it in HD. It just looked like, I don't know. I have to look at it again. You think it's grass?
I'm torn on it because I don't really know. But before you actually got the close up of the army of the dead, it looked like there was a storm coming, right? But all of these little shapes that are right here, it literally to me looks like green grass. That's like eventually being covered up with snow as the storm comes in closer. And then once the White Walkers are up on you, you can't really tell, but it looks like they're bringing snow with them as they come because it obviously doesn't seem that deep.
Well, they're definitely bringing the storm with them. That is something that they cinematically definitely portrayed the storm coming because of, and that's even in the books, right?
Well,
that they
said they didn't. Yeah, they said they didn't know, but I mean, obviously this answers our question. So what I'm wondering is if this is green grass, then it's freaking totally after they come through the wall. But if it's just, snow drifting or whatever, then it could be something completely different. And you make a good point, Yardley. That actually could be frozen waves. I mean, the Blackwater has frozen solid before.
See, I think this is just a scene depicting them coming south, like reminding us that, here they are in the shot. We haven't forgotten about the White Walkers. They're coming. And, oh, by the way, they have dead zombie giants now.
Yes.
I don't think those giants are going to make one bit of difference when it comes to that wall, though. I mean, I only saw 3 of them, and that wall is 300 feet high, 700 feet long, and the Maesters are only guessing. Well, they did research, and they said they were 14 feet, but then they minimized it and called them 12 feet. So how are 3 giants? I assume there's going to be more. How are 3 giants or even 100 giants going to affect a wall that's 700 feet high that they can't access?
Yeah.
They need something that can breach that wall.
I agree.
And it's not going to be those giants.
I agree.
So is it not possible, though, like even with Sandor Clegane's vision when he was saying there were thousands coming through, why is everybody so confident that the wall actually has to come down? I mean, they could just go around it.
I'm going with you. I think they're going around because the magic barrier is broken.
I don't know. To me, I just think I think we've gassed ourselves up so long thinking that this wall, which is just ridiculously long and ridiculously tall, has to come down. I don't even know how practical that is. If it was to crumble down, I don't think that it would make it easier. It would just be more obstacles for you to get over to get through the wall. I just think they're simply going to go around it.
Trent, can you go back one scene, a second, one shot? I want to look at that again because those giants are definitely taller than 12, 13 feet. They're 20 foot tall. The average height of a man in that image is 6 foot. 2 people tall would be 12. They're at least 15 foot tall.
Yeah, they're like 4 people high.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that these are the older giants. Like one was supposed to be like one of the biggest giants in history, apparently, even though he was relatively young. But these giants, I'm thinking, have been around for quite some time. And Mag the Mighty was huge, So it's quite possible that, these giants are much older or were much older before they died, and they are much bigger. But I don't think they're 300 feet bigger.
I didn't realize this. Bran was actually seeing the future. I saw Lord Baggs, and I know we're talking about the future. What other time have we ever seen? Not when he was warring. Okay, let me gather my thoughts here for 1 second. Okay, Bran was being pulled by Mira on the sled, right? His eyes are rolled back or they're glossed over in warg vision or whatever, and he's seeing the future, and he doesn't have his hand on the root of a weirwood tree. When were the other times he's done that in the HBO seasons? Was it when he was having visions and dreams of the future? Is that Easter egg? Is that foreshadowing? Is that his abilities getting more mature?
Anyone can answer this, but I think that he did have a vision, and Rickon too, of Ned being dead in the crypts, and that had nothing to do with him touching a weirwood. And then Arya had one prior to Ned actually having his head taken off, of the fact that Ned would get lost inside of King's Landing at some point. She couldn't, which I think equates to Ned dying as well. But so I think that we have had Bran see a portion of the future before, but obviously not drift this far. Also, that was kind of the reason why he went to the Night King in the first place, was to learn.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Bran see Jojen for the first time in a green site? And he wasn't touching a weirwood tree.
Yeah,
No.
I was trying to look for some kind of a similarity in what he was doing here.
Wait, yes, he did in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget, Jojen Reed is the Dream Creeper, and he was going to creep up on your dream whether
Here
you
we
wanted
go.
to or not.
Makes me sad that you
Are
don't
we-
love Jojen.
We got
or
a lot
Bran.
of comments. John,
Okay.
Are
say
we-
what you're going to say.
Say
and
what
then
you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
say.
read the
Be
comments.
quick, John. We got
Seeing as we
comments,
saw
buddy.
giants, are we gonna see zombie woolly mammoths? Like, I'm just
Ooh.
wondering, because that'd be sick if we see the zombie woolly mammoths too.
I can't imagine that we wouldn't. I actually want to see the ice spiders and the freaking polar bears and all the other freaking crazy things that old man was talking about.
Yeah, well, I would have to say that definitely they're gonna have that dire wolf from the Weirwood for
Oh my
sure.
God, I'm so freaking out about that.
So
So
I mean, not
Carrie-
that dire wolves are gonna make a difference anyway, but
Well, the children did say the wolves would outlast them all.
So Carrie says in old horror movies, it was all about the unknown terror. I think that's what's going on with the shot of the walkers. An ominous, here coming arrival. The fog is the wall coming down. Hey, I like that. DJ, by far, Ryan. Oh, Eric, giants versus dragons with a giant bow and arrow. And then DJ, fire will take out those giants easily. Lord Bag says, if it was a vision of the future, Bran would have seen it. It's a vision of the present. The Night King is in no hurry to march to the south. He wants to build terror in the hearts of the living. Plus, he knows that Bran and John and the Night's Watch know that he's coming. DJ said, I think 3 Archmaesters saying with pure certainty that the wall would never come down sealed the fact that it most certainly will.
Sansa did too, by the way. And so did Sansa did too. There was a lot of emphasis on the wall. I mean, that has to mean something. Everyone's so confident of the wall. It means that the wall isn't that foolproof.
Janji says, unless the giant hits the dragon with an arrow. Lisa says, I agree, Andrea. However, remember they mentioned Eastwatch by the Sea during the meeting with John. Then the Hound mentioned the castle by the sea and the dead marching past. Giants don't have to go over the wall, but around the wall. That's a good point. Michael Morrow says, Jojen had green dreams and saw the future. So you can see the future in green dreams without being hooked up to the Weirwood network.
And he
Joette
still died
says, Bran
like a
the
bitch.
puppet master. J.N.G. said, now the wall has to end somewhere, and the wildlings get through by going around. That's true because of Osha. We found that out. J.N.G. Hodor. Peter. If it took them 1,000 years just to realize they can't walk around the wall, I'll be disappointed.
Yeah, right.
Well, they climbed the wall. And that was the only other thing that had me caught up was because they showed the giants and everyone's like, oh my God, the giant is going down. And I'm thinking to myself, a giant is a giant is a giant. Mance Rayder had how many of them when he attacked the wall? But that wall was still the wall. There was no freaking going through it unless A, they were allowed through it, or B, they broke the wall. You know what I mean? Especially an army that vast. And I think that the Night King obviously knows that Bran went through the wall. I mean, his powers are super similar to Bran's. So I think it's stupid of us to at least believe that he doesn't know that Bran got through the wall, but the wall is still standing and he can't break it with 5 or 4 or 100.
How many gates, how many tunnels are in the wall? Do you know, Andrea, how many tunnels go through it like a Castle Black?
Well, I know that all 19 forts, I don't know for a fact, but I assume that all 19 forts had gates that took them through the wall
Like
because they all had to go out on rangings. Yeah. But for the castles that are unguarded right now, they collapsed all of the tunnels. The only one that's still open, I think, is the Ice Gate, the Black Gate, Eastwatch by the Sea, and what's the other one? Not Queen's Gate. Queen's Gate is a little bit further down.
I just want to point out
Castle
this,
Black.
right? Remember in the when Stannis came and basically rescued everyone at the wall? Well, the wildlings were trying to get to the gate, right? Well, that one giant got past the gate, got into the tunnel, and made it to the Night's Watch and our what the hell's the guy's name that sacrificed himself?
Gren.
Yeah, they all died. But imagine if 3 of them would have gotten in. So imagine if the magical barrier is broken, the wall doesn't have to come down. All the dead have to do is just use their magical dead superpowers to open the door and just rush through, even if it's cold rolled steel. If that one giant could lift the door, and that living giant, and that one living giant could bust through that other gate and kill all those guys, and even though he died in the process, I could definitely see 40,000 dead creepy creepers getting through that hole, as long as the magic was broken. If if in fact Bran broke the magic, which I don't think he did, because wouldn't we have seen some kind of like, like we did?
I mean, we didn't see that with the werewolf.
We didn't see that the magic break. We didn't see that. I don't remember.
We didn't see the magic break at all. He was just like, Bran was like, "We're protected." And he goes, "Not anymore." That mark basically took it off. Now, I don't know if that's a residual affecting mark or not, but we can only assume. But we have the foreshadowing from which was a callback to in this season when John left the wall. He said, "Don't break the wall while I'm gone," to Ed. I mean, to Ed. And Ed, they kind of had a laugh about it. So then Ed. I don't even understand why Ed was actually asking Bran who they were and how does he know that they're, from Winterfell? Because isn't the point to let everyone or everything that's living come through the wall? Therefore, it can't be used as a weapon behind them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The first thing Ed says is, "You guys wildlings," and why would that matter? If you're alive, right? You're not a White Walker. Go ahead and come through.
Exactly. So then Ed stops. He lets them go through. And you know that Bran has that mark on him. And I don't know why Bran didn't think to himself, hey, I don't know what my situation's going to be. But obviously John would have done the same thing too. So you can't really blame Ed. But letting Bran through actually is going to be the catalyst that allows the wall to be broken, no matter what the Night King situation is. John couldn't even sense ghosts when they were split on different sides of the wall. So there has to be some sort of magical barrier keeping people from, like, for example, Oral, from, having his bird go on the other side of the wall while he's not on the other side, because that would break his sight, his vision, his warging abilities. So if the Night King can freaking see into Westeros, for a fact that the enchantment's gone. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that's what happens.
Yeah, DJ says. Oh my God. I'm sorry, not. Yeah, DJ says they couldn't walk around the wall until marked Bran. So Bran with his mark went across it, and Lord Bag says, "Are you thinking of the Night Fort, Andrea?" Ryan says,
"No."
Okay,
Shadow Tower.
Just finished eating, so it's time for a beer. Then we shall see Gendry this season. Gendry, drink.
Drink. Whenever we mention Gendry, you got to drink. Drink.
Yeah, that's part of the game here. Peter says, why wouldn't the Three-Eyed Raven warn him that if he crossed the wall after Mark, it breaks the spell? That's a really good point, Peter. And DJ says, old habits die hard. So I wanted to point out that in this picture, and the next picture that I have here, ready? Look how exhausted Mira looks.
Yeah, that poor girl.
This poor girl, this whole scene, she's just wiped out. She's so happy she doesn't have to drag his ass anywhere else because the guys came over and pulled him for her.
I could just see her just walking up and like dumping him on the ground. It's like, just give me some bread and some water. I'm going to the fucking house,
Yes.
Yeah.
My watch has ended.
I appreciate you, dude, but you gonna have to kick rocks. I gotta go.
I know, man. It's like, whatever. You're welcome, and just walk off.
I'm done with you.
I think that he owes her something. I think he owes her big time. Big time. Mama Cheryl's here. Hey, Mama Cheryl.
Bannerman of the Starks. So, I mean, it seems fitting that. So, I had a question for everybody.
Can I say something here? I've been waiting for like a long time.
We can't see you. We're looking at the screenshots. Go ahead.
I want to go back to what you were saying about the giants getting inside the gate. There's a counter to that, and that's what John wanted to do against the wildlings, which is cave in the tunnels. If John caves in, just cave in the tunnels. Like, if you cave in the tunnels, they're not getting in through that way. That's what John wanted to do against the wildlings, and what the douchebag, what's his name? I can't.
Alistair Thorne.
Alistair Thorne said he should have, but he didn't. But like, if you cave it in, they're not getting through that way, so they're gonna have to climb. It gives you a better advantage. You can unleash the scythe on those guys, like so, and unleash fire. So just cave it in.
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't have any good show.
I'm just saying that's what I'm just countering what you were saying with the giants getting through. But I think the wall's coming down.
And then they might have to cross on the
was
sea.
It World War Z
really
where the dead piled up against the wall? And I don't think they have enough dead, but how crazy would that be if he had enough dead bodies to pile up, and him and his generals just climbed up the dead bodies right on the top of the wall? and
like,
then just
what was
jumped
that
off.
movie?
World War Z.
World War Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that, like a World War Z.
Yeah,
kind
because I
of-
tell you, one of the craziest scenes from, what was it, season 5 was Hard Home, was when the dead were just throwing themselves off the side of that cliff. That was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that was, I would have, if I would have been there, I
Terrifying.
would have shit my pants. And I would have been scared to death, like a little bitch.
Yep. So my question posed to everybody is, House Reed is deeply connected to the Starks. And what exactly is Mira's purpose now?
To protect Bran. I still think to protect Bran.
Because they've kept her around for a really long time.
Yeah.
She's Bran's protector.
Not only that, she killed a White Walker. Not like just a regular reanimated corpse. She killed like a general White Walker, an other, which is going to show that she has significance and she is capable of fighting, in the war that's coming. I don't know what that means, if she's going to fight or not. You know what I mean? But
She's over 10 years old and under 60. She's fighting.
well, yeah, that's very true. She has no
Are-
choice.
Are
But
we gonna? Sorry, go.
it could have something to do with the fact that she does need to go home. She needs to talk to her father. She needs to explain what happened to Jojen, what happened on the way, and she also needs to explain to him that Bran knows what happened. At the Tower of Joy.
Yeah, all the
I don't
fans
think-
are agreeing and they're saying, "Come home, go home, get Howland, and confirm Jon Snow's birth." And then
Yeah.
Are we gonna see Howland Reed this year though?
I don't
'Cause
think
we've
we'll
seen
ever
every
get
major
Howland.
house. We've
Yeah.
seen every major northern house and their
Well,
lords,
The thing,
except for
with
the
Howland-
Reeds.
the thing with Howland is he's the connection. He is the absolute last living person who absolutely positively knows John's lineage and can confirm it, especially as a lord.
That's
of
why
a
you won't see
house.
him.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see him. We're going to get it secondhand from Bran, unless, and this is something I know is a weird speculation. I think Littlefinger. I don't know why,
I don't
but I
think
think
it's weird
Littlefinger
speculation
knows.
at all.
I think Littlefinger knows. I have this gut instinct. I have nothing to back it up.
I
But have this gut
actually
instinct
do
that he
have
knows.
something. I do have something that I'd like to bring up, and it's because of the fact that Sam was in the Citadel and he was looking at those books, and it just so happened that the picture that was on that page was the same exact cat's paw dagger that was used to try to assassinate Bran. And how in the world did Peter Baelish get a hold of one of the Valyrian weapons that Aegon the Conqueror brought from Valyria? You know what I mean? Unless Peter Baelish happened to have ran into Rhaegar and Lyanna and pretended like he was going to help them, run away or whatever.
I know the answer.
And they took it as a payment. And then later on, he sent it through. The other thing that's really interesting to me, and we were talking about this in the discussion group. By the way, speaking of the discussion group, we've had a lot of requests lately to join the page, and it's been so busy. And the feedback that we've been getting, all of the questions and everything like that, I just want to say that this is why we do what we do. It's fantastic to get all the feedback that we've been getting. So thank you so much, everyone who's joined. And if you haven't joined, you totally should join because the community is fantastic. But we were talking about this, and they were talking about the dagger, and there's a few theories that Mance Rayder came to Winterfell to see, the whole Robert's party and whatnot, and that he left the dagger. But that doesn't really make any sense to me. Because Joffrey, I think we have confirmation in the books that Joffrey actually was the one responsible. In the show, they're making us believe it's Cersei. However, it's got a dragonbone hilt, and dragonbone is the content of iron that's actually in dragonbone is significantly higher than almost any other metal that they use for swords or anything like that. And the Stone Kings of Winter are literally down in the crypts with iron swords across their lap. And those iron swords are meant to keep their ghosts inside their tomb so that they don't wander Winterfell. So it's basically like trapping the soul of somebody inside of their tomb. So you kill Bran with a Valyrian steel blade that basically kills White Walkers, and you make sure that it has high iron content. It's like the true death for Bran. It's like saying that he wouldn't be able to even warg into summer if it would have happened at that time. So somebody definitely wanted Bran dead, and the true death, not like the can be revived kind of death, which I find interesting.
Yeah, that's definitely something we're going to have to dive deeper into. I thought it was very interesting to see the dagger in the book at all, and
Right.
there's so much more information, and we're going to get into all that as well. We're going to try to. I'm not trying to force us all to move forward, but we got a lot of stuff yet to cover. I want to talk a little. I want to get away from Bran and that stuff and go into more Littlefinger, Sansa, and John. I thought it was kind of interesting between John and Sansa having their conversation, especially after John basically said that House Umber and what's the other house?
Karstark.
Karstark could keep their houses, castles, and lands, and Sansa calling him out right there on the spot. And I don't think she meant anything. I don't think she was trying to be mean or nasty or about it, because I've read a lot of different stuff online about how she's trying to undermine him and she's trying to do this and do that. And I don't think that was the case at all. I just think that she was legitimately trying to voice her opinion. She wanted to be heard, and she wasn't necessarily wrong, although I think that what John did was right. It just shows me that Sansa has really grown as a character. She's just not going to sit there and be like, okay, just going to play with my hair, and I just want to be the queen, and da-da-da-da. She has really matured and grown.
I love that scene. I agree with John. I think he did the right thing by keeping the Karstarks in numbers instead of giving their land away, because, that was in the past. This is the future.
I think she shows two different personalities, one in front of the other people and one to John. Go ahead, Yarly.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, also, I guess you could think of it as John kind of righted Robb Stark's wrong. Robb was dead wrong when he killed Rickard Karstark, and that bitterness made it easier for the Karstarks to join the Boltons against their kin. So by John not stripping them of their titles, solidified an alliance, and, they're not divided going into the Great War, so...
Yeah, I agree. I think what he did was wrong as well.
I disagree.
You disagree because you're a huge Stark lover.
Well, I know,
Right.
even though he died because of that horrendous decision.
He did
Robb
what he thought
wasn't
was
right. Robb was not right.
He wasn't.
Robb was
Killed
not right.
innocent kids, man. He
It
killed
doesn't
innocent
matter.
kids.
You don't kill a high lord of a house that's sworn to serve you for thousands and thousands of years in the middle of a campaign when you need their men. It was stupid of him. He did what he did because he thought that that's what his father would do. But if Ned had lived, and I'm sorry, I truly believe this, Ned would have kept him as a highborn hostage to ensure that his group didn't defect. And after the fact, he could have tried him. I don't think that he should have done it when he did it. Of course, I think it was Rickard Karstark. Of course he was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there's no doubt about it. He murdered young kids, but Robb was under so much pressure that he felt like he didn't have any choice. And this is really where there's a difference between Robb and Ned. Robb, he doesn't think things through before he acts. Of course, he was a great battle commander. I mean, he did fantastic things. But he also married a woman who he slept with because he felt like he was honor bound to, knowing that he had given his oath that he was going to marry one of Walder Frey's daughters. You know what I mean? Robb is very quick. He was really quick to make decisions without thinking them through. And he, even Kat, counseled him not to do it, and he wouldn't listen to her. He stopped listening to anybody who was anybody after he married,
Talise.
what was her name? Whatever her name is, because I want to call her Jean. After he married her, and he fucked up. He bottom line is he fucked up. And so I disagree. I think that Robb made a bad decision, and he made it at the wrong time. Had he waited, he could have been justified. But he fucked himself over killing their lord.
I also noticed that Robb never wore a crown, and neither
Robb did wear a crown.
Did he? In the
wore
show?
A crown made of iron.
In the books.
Yeah, not in the show. I'm talking about the show. In the show, he never wore a crown, right?
No.
No.
And neither did Jon Snow, and he even mentioned that. He mentioned, I think that Sansa said, "Do you want to wear a crown?" And Jon's not going to wear a crown. I think that says something about their character, that it's more than just a crown. It's more than just a title. It's a responsibility. And I will say this, and Jon, just don't say a fucking word. As much as I don't like the Starks when you're around, I have to say that these characters, the Starks, are very proud people, and they try to do things because they believe it's right, not because it's a power play, not because it's about ego. because they truly believe that in the honor and all that stuff and the way of the North, and I have to give them a lot of credit for that.
And that
Their
gets them
ways are the
killed
old ways.
every time.
But it's
Yeah.
their way. Their
Pretty
ways are
much.
the old ways, though.
Well, I mean-
Their ways are the old ways. It's how the North is.
Well, the old
Always
ways
has
need to
been.
change, and
So-
it's not like that anymore. They're deflecting. They're not coming to the call of their
Right.
Lord. You know, they're not answering it. And this is really what pisses me off. First and foremost, who the fuck does Jan Braun's Royce think he is fucking speaking up about what should happen to northern houses? He lives in the Vale. Second of all, Sansa, she was testing Jon, and I don't think it's because she doesn't believe in Jon's ability to rule. I think it's because she does have so much influence by Cersei, and Cersei intervening with her sadistic son who didn't know how to rule, and Tommen, who is incapable of ruling because he was too weak. You know what I mean? Cersei intervened in a lot of things, and I think that Sansa sees Jon as somebody who wasn't raised as a highborn son, who has never been a king before or wasn't prepared to be a king. And so Sansa thinks that it's her duty to step in the way that Cersei did. But I also think that it's also important that Baelish sees her opposing Jon so that he thinks that there's dissension. You know what I mean? Because I honestly think that this is all a part of her long-term plan. And you know, it goes back to what was said in the second trailer. Don't fight, you know, the enemies in the north. Don't fight the enemies in the south. Fight all your enemies all the time, you know, inside your head. And I think that's what Sansa is trying to do in this situation. But I also think that she did undermine Jon in a lot of ways, and it's really important that they had this exchange. And Jon is going to tolerate her, but I also think that Jon is letting her know, this is the situation. I was chose king, and you are not above them either. And the thing about the crown is, it seems like it's very important to Sansa and not quite as important to Jon. And there's one other person in this whole series who's a monarch that does not wear a crown, and that's Daenerys.
Okay, let's go on to Tormund, Brienne, and Pod, and we're going to get into a little bit Littlefinger. We're trying to get through as many of these characters as we can. I thought that Yardley, I would imagine you like this as well. When Tormund's like, yeah, I guess the free folk are the Night's Watch now.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah, that was pretty ice cold. And but you know what? They're embracing, you know, what they need to do. And also, you know, I guess it gave him a little opportunity to poke his chest out with Brienne sitting over there. He was extra decisive. So I give the guy props for doing that. And he basically just wrote his check to die in the next couple of episodes.
Makes me so sad.
I know
But they need to mount the bear first.
So, well, we're going to get to that right now, John, because watching, I love every scene. I love watching Brienne, and when she and Pod were training in the yard, and she's just giving him a smack with the flat end of the sword, and she's like, nope, and then Tormund's like, he's got this look on his face,
The
like,
biggest smile.
oh my god, it's hilarious.
He's
And
so
it's like,
cute.
you're a lucky man.
I think that would be so sad, though, the one guy to give Brienne all of this attention.
Genuine.
Yeah, you know, would end up, because I think that's the only way that's going to happen. She's going to shoo away the one guy that probably would have been the best guy for her.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to mount the bear. I need to see this.
I don't
Needs to
know why
happen.
you're calling him the bear. He's the husband of bears. You
They're
keep
both
calling him a bear.
bears.
No,
Well,
they're
I mean,
not bears.
Well, she needs
That's-
to mount Tormund, okay? That's all I want to see is her mounting Tormund.
Look at that face.
This sex needs to happen. Okay, Brienne needs some love in her life. This sex needs to happen. I want to see this.
What is
Oh
the
my God, you're a
obsession with
pervert.
this?
You're
Damn
a
right, I'm a
pervert.
pervert. I love it
You're
too.
disgusting.
I want to
Listen.
see this.
Listen, I honestly don't think that Brienne is offended by Tormund. She was really distracted at that last moment when Podrick hit her, and she was like, "Did you just hit me?" And she knocked him down, you know. And Tormund's all, "You're a lucky man." But I think she is slightly distracted by Tormund. But I also think that she's wary because she had gone through all of those bad situations back, you know, on Tarth, and I don't think that she believes that anybody will ever look at her other than Brienne the Beauty or a woman who's a knight, or not a knight, but, you know, fights with a sword. She's, you know, she's this like abomination to most people. She's not supposed to be particularly pretty, and how dare she fight with a sword and act like she's a man, you know? And Tormund sees her for the first time, and he is literally just smitten. She's the cat's meow to him. She's strong, and she's badass. And I don't think that Brienne knows how to accept that kind of attention. So, I mean, yeah, I'm sure that it's all great, you know what I mean? But I do see Brienne actually not being reciprocating that, only because she doesn't believe that anything is legitimate. The only thing that she does believe is that her and Jaime have an emotional connection.
All right, we got about a half an hour left of the show. We're going to try to squeeze in the Hound, Sam and the Citadel, Cersei, Jaime, and Euron. So let's go to the Hound. I love seeing the Hound, and I didn't believe he was coming back, and when he did come back last season, I was super excited. Although I had to eat shit because I really thought he was dead. I didn't believe in the gravedigger theory, etc., etc. But I am glad to see him, and I feel like he's way more important than I ever thought he would be. Being licked by fire, and now seeing visions in the flames while hanging out with Beric Dondarrion, not Duckdarrion, John, and of course Thoros of Myr. How ironic is it? And he even says that he would be powing around with fire worshippers. Trent, doesn't that seem like there's something more going on here?
Yeah, it was funny. I'm glad that they actually the writers wrote that in there, because we all knew that he was burned, and that that it was like this irony, this sort of poetic irony, that he's running around with the R'hllor worshippers from last season, and then he actually states it. So that was nice for them to have made us aware that, kind of reciprocating. We know that here's the irony. Ha ha ha.
Right. And how
now,
about,
guess what? There's a bigger purpose.
Yeah, I feel that something else is there. And Yardley, when they stop at the home of the man and girl who had originally given Arya and Sandor shelter and food, and then he ended up robbing them and saying, he's not going to need it, they're going to die. Being back at that spot, I thought was also showing us how the Hound had changed. He's a different character now.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, in my next rewatch, it actually made that scene better. Looking at the reasons why he was acting the way that he was acting. And as we mentioned last week, I don't think that this Hound is the type of guy that has all of this vengeance about, his brother on his mind. I think we've kind of moved past that point, in his life. So I think that them meeting up and fighting, I don't really think that it's going to happen. I think a major turning point in his life is going to, be happening in the next few episodes. So, hey, look, let's just enjoy the evolution of this character, because we did get the nod to grave digging when he was digging the graves.
Yes.
For the for the daughter and the father.
Yeah, I didn't think this was really going to be a part of the story, but there it was, a nice Easter egg. And Gisela joined us. Yay! Got to give a big shout out to Gisela. She does a lot of work with Andrea, out of the actual live show. You guys, Andrea, you and Gisela do a phenomenal job looking up information, double-checking everything. And, of course, all of the blog post research and the blog posts that you're writing for BehindTheIronThrone.com. I got to tell you something right now. When you get a chance, go to the website. Take a few minutes to read some of Andrea's blog posts. They're phenomenal, and they're also available on the Facebook as well. Andrea, you guys do a great job. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much. I couldn't do any of this without frickin' Gisela. I find that it's easier for me to do the work that I do when I have somebody to bounce, these ideas off of, which is why the discussions page is so important to me, because all of the contributions that the whole entire community is sharing, it's just amazing. But Gisela and I have a way, of communicating with each other, and she doesn't agree with me all the time. And so when we don't agree, we talk it through, and then we come up with a viable answer that does make more sense. So she's my everything. She's the peanut butter to my jelly.
Ooh, I like that. It's peanut butter jelly time. Now, go ahead.
I do want to say that whole gravedigger thing is proof that we are getting, little subtle asides from the book that the producers and Dan and Dave thought, let's give them this. We're not going to expand on it, but let's actually give them this and see if they pick up on it. And I really love that. And I don't know if I'm the only one in this situation who feels like a lot of the sadness he was feeling about those two, because he even told Arya, they're going to be dead come winter. is because of the connection that he had with Arya and the fact that he has no idea what happened to her at this point, and he felt like a father figure to her as well. And maybe possibly he feels like he failed her by losing that fight. But I don't see animosity in him either, Yardley. I completely agree with that, which is why I think when and if he sees Brienne, it's not going to be an issue. I'm sure Brienne's going to be like, oh gosh, but I don't think that his head is there anymore. And maybe there might be a Clegane Bowl, especially with the visions that he interpreted, but I don't see that happening. So, anything's possible, but I really loved the fact that you could actually see the Hound actually humanizing people at this point.
Well, it's also him trying to get together the types of things that he believes in. Because for me, I think his sadness just comes from the fact that he had regret for doing what he did to that family, but also at the same time, not understanding what's going on. And they kind of got into it in those scenes. He's like, why in the hell are you alive and they're dead? So he's questioning his beliefs left and right. And I think this guy's coming into his own, but I think that he's still confused. He's still trying to figure things out. And I love that we're getting to go this journey with him while he tries to figure it out. Now, I hope he's one of my favorite characters. Right behind Jon Snow, the Hound is pretty much up there on my list. I really do want this character to go a little further, but I've got my fingers crossed for him. But bless the Hound, man. He's trying to come around, but I don't know if he'll fully get there, but I definitely like where he's at right now.
Yeah, I love where the Hound's at. Praise be to the Father, to the Hound. I hope the Hound makes it to the end. I really, really do. Somebody,
fuck it. I don't know the words. I'm sorry you're dead.
Yeah.
You deserve better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I don't know the words. Fuck it.
Trin, did you want to catch up on chat, or I didn't know if anything pertained to this conversation.
Trin?
Did I lose her?
We may have lost her a little
No,
bit.
she's
Eric Flores says Sandor Clegane is way better reading the flames than Melisandre. Peter says
that's true.
If Brienne is the bear, then Tormund is the maiden fair? ? Lord Vag says, could the Hound take Dondarrion's place if Dondarrion is rendered unable to be resurrected? As long as he gets the kiss of life, I don't see that would be an issue. And J. Angie says, it was a nice seed that they planted. Makes you want to rewatch as the seeds they planted seasons ago bear fruit. And that's a really good point. I mean, we're getting so many callbacks from the last 6 seasons that you really do. I mean, it's definitely in your best interest to go through and do a recap. That's the reason why we did the recap the last 7 weeks or so, because it felt really nice to be able to go through and find all the things that you were missing. Otherwise, the show is just a show to the normal watcher, and it's so much more than just a show.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I want to do. Let's go into Euron, Cersei, and Jaime, and then we'll save Sam for the end, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in Sam's stuff, right? I love the shot of Cersei standing on the map floor. I don't know what it is. I'm really interested in Cersei this season. Well, I guess I do know because of her batshit craziness from last season. Well, I don't want to say it's batshit crazy, but like no fucks were given. She blew up everyone in the Citadel, thinking that she took care of all of her enemies, even though she kind of banded her enemies that are left together to come against her through Dany. I don't think she saw that coming, but it was an amazing floor, and I love her new look. She's not the Cersei that will use her other weapons, quote unquote, to control a man. She's dressed in black with the silver, and she's the Black Lion, and she's got a confidence there's something about her now, the way that she presents herself, the way that she's talking, and she's a little bit different. All the characters have progressed very, very far since we first saw them, and that's one of my favorite parts of the show, watching them change. I am John's. Lord John says, "Is Chris rooting for Cersei because she's now the underdog?" Not exactly. I just find her character to be very interesting right now. Although it would be kind of funny if she were to pull through out of this. I don't think Jonathan Stoma Starklever would believe that she could.
No, too many enemies. Too many enemies. Her time is her. Let's just say her time is ticking down. Like it doesn't look good for her. I don't even care if she has Euron on her side. Jamie made a good point. The Greyjoys aren't good at nothing but raiding and taking what they can't grow or have. I mean, their history alone will tell you that Greyjoys aren't good at warfare. So I don't care if he has 1,000 ships. He may win a battle. He may beat Yura at sea. But, I mean, overall, I think he's going to lose. And I think Cersei's going to lose. And all that army and 3 dragons, you don't stand a chance. I'm sorry.
I'll go last.
Okay, I agree with Lord Bag. Cersei's a survivor. Yarly, what do you think? Do you think Cersei has a chance? Do you think that she's smart enough to pull through, or do you think that Euron's gonna pull her chain and screw her over?
No, I mean she's got a chance. She's got more than a puncher's chance. I would feel differently if Cersei had a plan. You know, she was already had things set in motion before Jamie even got there. And the notion that she doesn't have a puncher's chance, to me, is just totally ridiculous. There's no way. There's no way. Everything is on Daenerys' side. I mean, nobody should be can anybody be so idiotic to think that she's just going to roll through, like nothing bad is going to happen to her? Like there's no repercussions, that there's going to be things that are going to happen to bring her down a peg or two. And I think that some things, that's the way games go, you know, ebb and a flow. There's momentum's going to be on one side, there's going to go to the other side. And I think that Cersei is going to probably play the hand of, you know, I'm not going to pay attention to this White Walker crap. Let them fight it out, and you know, maybe somehow I'll win it at the end or something. But I think she's got some tricks up her sleeve. So I bet money that she makes it through this season.
Jeff says Jamie does not want to share Cersei with SpongeBob leather pants. That man gets a gold star. Trent, what do you think?
I think that's going to come back, though. I think that Jamie thing's going to come back to play. That whole not trusting thing's going to come back.
Trent, what are your thoughts on Cersei this season? Are you excited to see what she does? Did anything in the when you saw Cersei so far in this season, do you believe that she has a fighting chance? Do you think that she's poop out of luck?
I think what everybody seems to be missing in this one scene between her and Jamie that transitions into her, Jamie, and Euron. Andrea brought up triangles. There's a love triangle happening right here, right before our eyes. Cersei, there's so much going on between Jamie and Cersei in this scene. Their entire relationship is breaking down. They didn't talk about Tormund. She didn't tell him about Tormund. Sorry, I love Tormund so much. She didn't tell him about Euron coming for a queen until he actually arrived. When Euron is speaking, it seems like Jamie and Cersei are in 2 separate rooms having separate reactions because she is off her rocker hot for this guy because of the power that he's about to give her. And Jamie keeps looking at her and giving her these like, what the fuck eyes. And you can see that when you go back and you watch it and you look at from 2 different perspectives, their relationship is just crumbling before our eyes. And we'll get into the Euron stuff, but the interactions between Jamie and Cersei, that's the only person she lives for right now, right? Like that's everything that they've ever worked for was so that they could be together, and she's lost her children, which everybody was like, oh, that's the most important thing to her. Yeah, now she's got nothing except for Jamie, which has always been her other person, her other half. Well, that shit's going down because she basically tossed him out the window in this scene. She was like, yeah, he wants a queen. So I made a deal with him. He's coming over to court me. Like, I know he's coming to court me. By the way.
That's so funny you put it that way. Now that when you explain it that way, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it's silly because Jamie has no idea that she's already kind of pushed him by the wayside. And I have some pictures of her face. Oh, let me grab these really quick. I don't want to jump into Euron yet unless we're ready to.
I like that she said, she quoted kind of what her father said, like, we can dynasty for 1,000 years. And then Jamie's like, what dynasty? You have no kids left. I mean, I think you're a little too old to have kids at this point. And
exactly.
I mean,
And
What are you doing
"Oh,
this?
it's for us." And he was like, "What? What?" And then the next fucking thing she says is, "Oh, this guy's coming to marry me." Like, wait a minute, we're building a dynasty for us, Jamie, but I just have to marry this guy. That's all.
I think she doesn't realize. She goes, "I'm the queen of the seven kingdoms," and Jaime was like, "You have 3 at best." I don't think she truly realizes the true threat. Like, she's calling everyone a traitor. Like pretty much every major lord you've called a traitor. She said the traitors in the north, traitor. She called Olenna a traitor. She called. I don't think she called Liara a traitor, but she's a traitor. I mean,
Say Liara.
Liara.
I think you're talking about Ilaria.
Liara, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
my crazy mispronouncing continues.
Sound bites for later.
I mean, and going back to Daenerys thing, the reason I think that I don't see too major of a peg down for her, I think maybe Yura is gonna lose a battle, but her whole storyline has just been one setback after the other. So, and I think we're beyond that. Like, I mean, go back to her entire storyline. She marries Drogo. She's pregnant.
Drogon. Drogo. You're right. I was like, wait, what?
Drogo. She's about to get what she wants to go over to the Seven Kingdoms, and then she loses the baby. Drogo dies. That's one setback. She gets to Karth. She thinks she's going to be again success. The dragons get stolen. It's another setback. Then she gets the Unsullied, and then she goes to Marine, and then all that shit happens. There's another setback. I think the way the arc is now, she's there. She's going to take over. I just see her taking over by the end of the season. Will Cersei die or not? I don't think so, but I don't see Cersei winning. I mean, she's sending out the Lannister army to attack the Dothraki, and you're seeing in the trailer the dragons.
Some of the army, dude. Some of the army, all of the army. She's not sending the whole army out there, dude. And the Lannisters are going to have some wins. I'm pretty sure Lady Olenna is going to feel the wrath very soon.
3 dragons.
Yeah, they can't make it.
The Conqueror, 3 dragons. What happened?
But they can't make it easy because then there wouldn't be an exciting part of the show.
Like, you're just making the assumption that everything goes right for Dany.
I agree.
There's
not going to be a happy ending in this.
She's not going to have all of those dragons through the rest of this, man. Like,
we're not talking about the rest of this. I'm just saying against Cersei. I'm not talking about the whole thing. I'm just talking the Cersei thing.
John, if you think that Dany's going to have absolutely 0 losses in this, including her dragons, you're absolutely nuts. See, Daenerys, okay, here's the difference. Daenerys actually fights by any means necessary, but she's not deceitful and she's not conniving. Everything that Daenerys does is straightforward, which is probably where she fucks up at, because you either know what she's going to do or she just doesn't do anything at all. You know what I mean? Cersei has fucking wildfire on her side. She has the fact that she's batshit fucking crazy, and she has ambition on her side. Cersei knows that she's usurped the throne, you know, and it doesn't matter. She okay, for the record, Euron Greyjoy is sailing 1,000 ships. I don't know how many people it takes to man 1,000 sea galleys.
A lot.
But I can tell you, there shouldn't be that many Ironborn on the fucking island. Second of all,
That's a good point.
she asked Jaime Lannister she asked him for his advice. Where is Daenerys going to land? First of all, the biggest thing here is that she actually knows that Daenerys is coming. So somebody sent a raven to her and they told her that. We'll get to that later. But she asked Jaime, where's Daenerys going to land? He goes, Dragonstone. They have deep water ports, you know, great place to land her ships, and that's where the Targaryens and ancestral seat is, yada, yada, yada. Well, so enemies to the east, and then she moves down to Dorne. Enemies to the south, and those frickin' sand snake cunts. And then she goes over to the west. She goes, enemies in the west. And she's talking about Olenna, that treasonous cunt, right? Another traitor. And you have to ask yourself, what makes Olenna a traitor? You just burned all her fucking family and ended her line, basically, right? Well, she makes it abundantly clear that Euron came for a queen. She allowed him to come, which means that she sent ravens to all of these houses to come and swear oaths of fealty. And Olenna was one of them. At this point, I don't think Olenna knows anything. I mean, not Olenna. Cersei knows anything about Olenna's involvement in Joffrey's death. But she wanted Olenna dead nonetheless, and now she has a reason to execute her because she didn't answer her summons to come and swear her oath of fealty. Freaking Olenna's not going back to King's Landing. That's the bottom line in this situation. And she didn't even leave Highgarden. We find that she's just hiding out in Highgarden because Cersei says as much. Well, then she's talking about the North and how Sansa's murdering ass is serving beside John. And so she's got lots and lots of hate. She still thinks she's the Queen of Seven Kingdoms, and Jaime reminds her, no, you really only got 3. So ask yourself what her 3 are. It's not the Stormlands. It's not the West where Olenna is. She doesn't have Dorne. She doesn't have the North. So she thinks that she has the Vale. She thinks that she has the Crownlands, and she thinks that she has the Westerlands, which is where Casterly Rock is. She's kind of screwed in this point. So she wants Jaime to march his army north. Jaime's like, we don't have the fucking food to do it, and all of our men are going to die. Cersei doesn't give a shit about killing the rest of the Lannister army off to get what she wants. She doesn't care. So I do think that Cersei's going to take heavy fucking losses, but that's just going to make her more dangerous. It's not going to make her scared or timid or afraid to do what she has to do. You saw how freaking empty her throne room was. She doesn't have anybody on her side, But Cersei's freaking crazy. She wants to create a dynasty that'll last 1,000 years with just her and Jaime.
Trend.
Well, that gives you foreshadowing.
Euron's in there now too, because this picture right here is her face. I took this specifically. Her face is reacting.
Oh yeah.
Reacting to the Armada. She's like, oh, look at those, like, oh, come take
those
me now.
Those luscious
eyes.
cheeks. Those ruby lips.
She's feeling him right now. But here's the thing.
Oh yeah.
Jaime asks her, she says, are you scared of me? Jaime goes, should I be? And she immediately goes right into Tyrion and how Jaime loved Tyrion. He couldn't see any wrong in him. And so she's using Tyrion again as a way to manipulate Jaime into doing something that he doesn't want to do because
Which is a
he
huge
feels
breakdown
guilty
in their relationship.
Right.
Like, I'm not feeling their relationship whatsoever. It's on its way out.
Trent.
Like, yeah.
Could you do me a favor? Can you go back to the map for a second?
Yes, I can.
And then you have the comment by Sansa to John. If you're her enemy, she will not stop until she destroys us. That's foreshadowing. Cersei's not going anywhere.
Real quick.
You have then you have the let's see here. For a queen. He came for a queen, which means that she summoned him there, which means that she also summoned the other people here. Let's see here. I'm sorry, 1 second.
Notice look at this map for a second. I just wanted to point something out I noticed while you were showing the scene. If you're not watching live, you can check it out at facebook.com/Behind the Iron Throne or on BehindTheIronThrone.com. I'm pointing at the map right here. Here's the wall, right? Right there. There's the wall. This body of ocean, or water here, rather, this big old lake. And then over here we have more north. There's no wall over here, right? Is there a wall here? Or am I confused?
I can't even see anything.
No, it's water.
This is water, and then what's next to the water? Is this...
No, that is the wall. You can totally see. It's light. It's a more brighter, and then you can see there's a little box there.
I think he's talking about the water
not
next
that.
to it.
No, this right. Well, you guys can't see what I'm pointing at. On the right-hand side on the top is the wall. You can plainly see that this is the wall right here. Then there's the body of water next to it, right? There's the guy has his sketch drawings to make the painting on the floor. But over here on the farther left of on Cersei's left from her perspective is
you look
more
like a weathercaster. I'm sorry. I'm watching it.
I know
over here.
I know the guy hasn't finished the painting yet, but it still looks like that's supposed to be part of the north. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out. I thought it looked interesting.
Well, I think that she's not quite on the neck yet, but she will be. That body of water is supposed to be where Bear Island is.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it, you can see if you scroll back down, that it says that, I believe that's the Shivering Sea, or that's either the Summer Sea. I'm not quite sure which one. I'm going to mute myself again.
Over here, we have ourselves a Class 5 tornado.
They didn't finish painting yet, but you can obviously see that winter is descending into Westeros. That we actually get that on the overview of the map as well. So, I mean, there is stuff going on here. Some of this will eventually be ice, but the wall is clearly there.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just looking at it wrong, because when you get a chance, look at the picture again. We'll talk about it after the show. All right.
She is standing on the neck.
Is that the neck that she's standing on? Well,
That is the
thank
neck,
God
and
she's
he's
not
standing
standing
next
on
to the
someone's
fingers.
actual neck, because that would hurt somebody.
Well, they said people were speculating in Reddit that she was standing on the neck and Jamie was standing on the fingers. Get it?
Oh,
Neck
God.
and fingers.
Yes.
Fingers on the neck.
And did you
Valakar.
know? Did you know that the painter is actually a faceless man?
It makes so much sense.
All right, so now we're looking at Euron, who I didn't really give a flying shit about until I
love him this season.
I think he's going to be amazing this season. He is going to be absolutely crazy.
is
Look at the way he's standing. He's standing
so
there.
channeling Jack Sparrow.
Yes, he is, and he just doesn't give a shit. He's in front of the queen. He's saying whatever the fuck he wants. He knows that she needs him. She
And
needs
he has
his
two
fleet.
good hands.
Yep, two good hands.
Yes. He's just cocky as shit. And what's really interesting is that she was like, if not, more humble. And he's like, you're not humble. And he's right. She's not, because he says to her, when I was a little boy, all I ever wanted was to grow up and marry the most beautiful woman in the world. And Cersei automatically assumes that he's talking about her. He's not talking about her. His plan was to build 1,000 ships, sail to Marine, give them to Dany, and give her his big cock. And I don't think that Yara and Theon going there has anything to do with a change of plans for him. So he's telling her, I'm here and I want to marry the most beautiful woman in the world. And so how can he give the most beautiful woman in the most beautiful woman in the world what she wants? She wants her seat back. So make Cersei think that she wants to court him, and then that he wants to court her, and then go and bring her a precious present so he can get what he wants. So now he has proximity. You know what I mean? Otherwise, no one's getting close to Cersei, and that's obvious because he tries to climb the dais, and and the mountain steps up, and he's just kind of looking at him in awe, like you're a big fucker. You know what I mean? And it's kind of funny to him. And
yeah, he didn't even flinch.
No,
he actually smiled when the Hound sort of beefed up to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's cute."
He looks like
he's
a
that
Darth
fucking
Vader
crazy that
samurai.
He doesn't care.
And he literally no fucks. He's like, okay, I'll just take a
Yeah.
step back. But he wasn't shocked or anything. He's just smiling at him like, oh, look at this guy.
Everybody else who's ever encountered the Mountain has been like, fuck, I'm gonna pee my pants right now. And he just was like, oh hey.
It's hard to see him actually giving a fuck. It's going to be hard to actually hate him, honestly, because he's a fucker. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're like, God, you're so charismatic as a fucking pirate. You just want to really like him. I hated him last season. I thought, what a little douchebag. But he's done a complete 360 ever since last season. He's so likable, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Eric says he reminds me of Ragnar from the Vikings. That is a fucking perfect.
Yes.
Because he's kind of crazy, kind of really, really smart, in a sort of wise Viking kind of way. And of course the Greyjoys have that sort of Viking themed background in the books that they didn't really do. They did more of the Captain Jack Sparrow look and feel, but I absolutely can feel the Ragnar channeling in this guy. And I also wanted to point out that sorry, I lost it. John Serbeck said, wouldn't it be ironic if Euron marries Cersei and then strangles her with his two good hands? And J&G said, John, that's what I was thinking. Sam says, Euron just gives me the creeps. And Eric says that he's got the same mannerisms, which he absolutely does have the same mannerisms. And he's trolling Jaime every word he says. He's absolutely trolling Jaime. His entire presence there is trolling Jaime.
I have to kind of bend the fence on this. When he says you should try killing a brother to Cersei, the automatic go-to is that they're talking about Tyrion. But Jaime is standing right there, and obviously Jaime seems like a barrier for Euron to get what he wants. So he's subtly, they're thinking Tyrion, which is the obvious choice, but he's talking about Jaime too. You should kill a brother, because he needs Jaime out of the way in order to get to Cersei, because obviously Jaime has influence. He literally spoke up, just like Cersei did, in the middle of her taking court. You know what I mean? And she's the queen, and she didn't even care that Jaime spoke up at that point. So, he can see obviously that Jaime is a portion of like the path that he has to get to. And then there's the whole entire I'm right here with 1,000 ships and 2 good hands, which that's obviously foreshadowing. But it comes back down to the Valonqar prophecy. And when you've drowned in all your tears, in all your sorrows, the Valonqar shall wrap his hands around your throat and choke the life from you. She's already dead. She drowned in her tears, which is a metaphor. But the Valonqar is going to come and choke the life from her. The Valonqar means the younger brother, but there's no gender in Valyrian, so it's the younger one specifically. And then Jaime says to Cersei, whoever it was that killed the Freys is no friend of ours, which is exactly what the Mad King said to everybody that was in the audience hall at Harrenhal about the Night of the Laughing Tree. So he's like, it could be anyone. We don't know who it is. So possibly Euron is the one to kill her, but possibly somebody else just kills her, making everyone else think it is Euron.
Keep in mind,
not even be Euron.
Keep in mind that part of the prophecy was only in the books, not in the show, just for the people that only watch the show. So this is us speculating that the book and the show are going to meld in this particular point, which would be nice to see. So that's what Andrea is referring to right now.
Exactly.
Did anybody notice that when he was talking to Cersei and he stops her or she says, "Oh, and he's humble too," or what was it exactly?
Yeah. She goes, if not more humble.
Yeah, and she goes, "You're not humble." He never broke his. He didn't even blink or twitch or anything when he looked at her. Like, that challenge to her was something that no one really has ever done. The only person who's ever done any kind of challenge like that to her has been Ned Stark. And he did it with sort of like a merciful sort of, and Tywin. And she has so much respect for Tywin and loves him. I think she's really going to get with Euron. Like, she really is going to go for him. Because if he brings her the gift that, we all kind of think, there's speculation on what kind of gift it is. But if he brings her back like a super hot gift that she's going to throw her panties at him. She really is.
I think so. I don't even know if she has panties on, but she's getting rid of that dress.
I hate to do this to y'all, but we're just out of time. We didn't get a chance to talk about Sam. I'm sorry about that. We'll have to talk about him in a different bonus episode because there was a lot of good stuff, but it's just too late, and I do have to work in the morning, and we're just too long in the show. Okay, so final thoughts. We're going to go around the table. Do your final thoughts. If somebody wants to bring up Sam, we'll talk about that we have to be really brief. Let's start with Andrea. Any final thoughts before we close this episode?
Well, as you guys know, I transcribed all the pages, so I don't want to get too far into it, though. There's a lot of really important stuff. Obviously, Dragonglass can cure grayscale now. We know that for a fact. And then we have a lot of talk about glass candles, and there's also a book about the wonders made by man, and that was done by Lomas Longstrider. So a lot of different information. One of the wonders that's in that book is the wall. So now we know that there needs to be more information given about the wall. And then also the fact that Sam had no idea that Daenerys was coming to Westeros when Jorah asked him, which means that the Citadel is covering things up that they find unattractive, or they don't want people to ask questions about or start to think about again. So I found Sam's scene really, really interesting. Please go to the page, check it out. We can talk about it. We've been having great conversations. This was a great episode for me. I appreciate it so much. After watching it 14 times, and every single time I watch it, I find something new. I highly recommend everyone go back and rewatch the show if they have the opportunity to, and you'll start to see a lot of things that register with the book. But I'm just really excited to see where we go moving forward. So again, go back and watch the show again. Join us on the discussions page where most of us are around most of the time. And I just really look forward to talking about the rest of the season with all of you guys as it comes. So awesome. It was great talking with you guys. Have a great night.
Awesome. Yardley, any final thoughts for the end of the show?
Hey, you know what? I'm just excited for next week, man. I think we'll definitely get some good surprises, and You know what? I always look forward to talking about this thing with all of you.
Awesome. How about you, Stark lover, Ducktarian?
I love the episode. To me, the best part of the episode was Arya killing all the Freys. That was awesome. I just want to say one thing. Everyone talks about Cersei and her mad, and she has tricks up her sleeve. Daenerys has a secret weapon, and that's Tyrion Lannister, who knows Cersei. She also has Varys, so she has two really, really good advisors. So that's all I want to say. And overall, great episode. Can't wait till Sunday to some more. So yeah.
Marine agrees.
I was just being attacked by a dragon, by a direwolf on my screen. What the hell? Oh my god! It just popped up. It grabbed my arm. Did you see that? Anybody? No.
I flipped. I past the video, so I didn't get to see the the screen pop
it hit
up.
Me. Is that Nymeria?
Yes. Well, I'm assuming it's Nymeria. She does look a little bit like more lighter than Nymeria, and we have pictures from JR where she has that, kind of like that line that goes up her forehead, similar to like Greywind. So I don't know for a fact if that's Nymeria, but she looks badass as fuck, and I'm assuming that the scene is going to be pretty freaking wild.
Yeah, they've said in I follow Reddit and all these other podcasters and YouTubers and stuff. They showed Bran and Rickon's wolves as babies, and then throughout the different episodes and the different seasons, and they do change as they grow older. So their markings kind of change. Bran's, especially with Summer, changed a lot. So this could be Nymeria, even though the markings are a little bit different.
Any final thoughts, Trin, before we head out of here?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of Yardley and say that I'm excited for next week, and don't discount the pre-roll. Do not discount the video they give us before the credits or the previously on. Because we've learned from this first episode that's really important, and it's actually going to open up what exactly the episode's about and what we need to be paying attention to, because there was a few things. Also, one thing that we've learned is timelines will not be fluid this season. It's going to be all over the place. So this whole moving at the speed of light kind of thing, I think we just chuck that out the window. It doesn't count anymore. It's going to go fast, and people are going to move around really quickly. And so timelines aren't really going to fall into place. That's not something that we can really build as a foundation for anything.
I hope there's no time traveling at least. Yeah.
Well, I think that I looked ahead as far as like speculation and stuff, and read the name of the next and then the little details about the next episode. And so I have my own theory about what's going to happen, but I don't think we're going to have like a episode about that, are we? I don't know.
I don't know
we have an article about it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll put it on the page what I think is going to happen.
Awesome.
But thanks for having us. I'm glad that we got to get out all of this extra information today.
Yes, and we tried to read as many of the comments as we could. We kind of got long. We lost track of the time, so we weren't able to read as many as we'd like to. The next episode, we'll try to make it a little bit shorter. Try to focus on some stuff a little bit better so we can get more of your comments and questions into the show. We do our very best, and we love doing this for you. If you'd like to support us here at Total Nerd Takeover Studios, all you have to do is look at the description of this podcast or video, depending on where you're at, and in said description will be a bunch of links. There's Audible, there's Amazon, there's links to the website, there's links to the Facebook page, there's links to wherever you need to go. By using one of those links, you help to support us here at the studio. We get a very, very small commission, so that helps when all my gear takes a crap. I can buy new gear. Also, if you can't help us monetarily, all you have to do is give us some feedback on iTunes. That's always a very nice place to do it, or on Stitcher, or whatever podcasting aggregate app you use. Go and take a few minutes and tell all your friends about our Facebook page. Join our Facebook page yourself, and of course our Facebook group, and answer the questions. If you don't answer the questions, or we don't recognize who you are, we're not going to let you in, because we're trying to keep out all of the bots and spam. So when you join the Facebook group and there's questions that pop up and say, hey, here's whatever the questions are, you say, yeah, and you answer the questions. If you are a real person, the questions didn't pop up, then just send one of us a message or do it on the Facebook page. Let us know that you're a human being, you're trying to get in. Or like some of our awesome members do, they come in the live show and do just that. But let us know, because we really want to have you guys in our community. This podcast, this whole thing is about community, and we love doing it for you. So joining us for Behind the Iron Throne, #BTIT. Keep it real.